music video that was like one big single take over machine last time.
Was it making the
I'll send
music
it to
too,
you
like
guys.
the action causing sound?
That would be better.
I've seen
There is
some
one,
like that where
there's
the
one.
timing, you know, like
Okay,
it
that makes
makes,
sense.
yeah, hits pots or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
for like the,
boom,
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
there's one
Takes
for
it to
like
a different level.
the theme for
yeah,
Movie
that's
Up,
like I don't
and they
have time
do
to
that,
shape
and
the weird,
it actually plays the music. This was just
make a
cool,
song out of it.
by a band called Oprah. I'll send it, it's pretty cool. We watched it, we were on the
Coffee camera. It doesn't care. It doesn't look like an active chess game if you want to start one.
You gotta do it better.
No, I don't start until the fall.
Oh, the ball.
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah.
I say the word buzzing. I put my silence on.
I can change that. I'm good at that. We should do a school board field day, post field day in here when you no field day after the field day for the meeting.
You just wanted to posting.
I just want a field day every day. Well, maybe every other
Yeah,
day.
see like
I was
that.
very tired the next day. A lot of energy. There's a lot of energy.
I was also incredibly sore.
Yeah, I'm so out of shape.
Yeah. Our water on.
It's like a test. You can cheat up the scene. Yeah. Oh.
It's so cool that they can do it all in one take, like the whole song.
That's impressive.
Oh, absolutely. The first line you not hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. No reminder.
Right.
Here's a legacy.
Yep, I think so. You want to get in TFA.
Yes,
You were still working.
Yep.
Yeah, the late, working on a kitchen project when you get ready for retirement. That's what you told me. Could have been a lot. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you come to the different cities. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first order of business is action on minutes. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meetings held on May 5th, 2025 and May 29th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion?
I I was here for one of them, but not the other, so how do I vote on them?
Same.
One hand,
Right.
one of them.
No, I know, there's
You might have to separate them. We gotta separate them. Sorry.
no worries at all. So let's do. Stephanie, will you make a motion to approve the minutes from May 5th, 2025?
Motion to approve the minutes from May 5th, 2025.
And a second from David.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the minutes from the meeting held on May 5th, 2025? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes? And you abstaining, correct? Thank you. Alright. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on May 29th, 2025?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the meeting held on May 29th, 2025? Thank you, motion passes.
You can vote.
Oh.
Wasn't here.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Maria. Moving on to citizen comments. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak this evening? Moving on to board member comments. Any board members that would like to speak this evening? David?
I got two things. One, I'd like to talk about a little bit, and that is Freshman Academy. I've had a few people come up to me lately and saying that Freshman Academy, they feel that their child has lost a year of schooling by going to Freshman Academy. I found that very concerning. I really didn't question the person, but I'd like to just to mention that and see if anybody else on the board have heard any other things similar to that, and maybe we could get a discussion going about the Freshman Academy and the things that they do and how that relates to their learning, and also what they might be losing, if they are losing education during that grade level. I found that to be concerning, and I didn't know if anybody else had heard any other things about the freshman academy. No? Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, I think that, I worry a little bit that Freshman Academy has a little bit of a PR problem, because I think it's doing things differently than, you know, what people experienced when they went to school. So they have a hard time understanding maybe what the purpose is and what skills the kids are learning, because it's less traditional. So I think, I don't know whether it's warranted or not, because I do hear people complain about it, but it's never directly been apparent to me. I mean, you just had a kid go through Freshman Academy.
The one going into.
But yeah, I just like, I feel like since the day it was rolled out, it's had a little bit of a PR problem. I was so excited, like it's, you know, it's fairly progressive in its project-based learning, and coming from like the education background I had, when I heard about it, I was like, this is amazing. I can't believe like our public school is doing this. But I think it also got rolled out a little bit top-down and kind of forced onto the school system, and because of that, there was like immediate resistance that maybe wouldn't have been there if we'd had more buy-in from the start, and I don't know if it's ever recovered from that, but, so.
Yes.
And I'll say from my experience and just going down there on the education committee a few times, having them take us through, they've done a ton of work over from when it was rolled out to the current situation, incorporating everything into the curriculum in a holistic way. Whereas before it felt kind of piecemeal of trying to make this about social studies and this about. So ELA, social studies, and science are all, those standards are all met at TFA. But to me, the existence of TFA is just an acknowledgement that not all brains learn the same. And I think that's super important. So some kids that are used to classroom and book learning might, you know, might feel that way a little bit, but I think there's a ton of kids that get a lot from it just by applying what you would learn in the classroom and doing it hands-on and being able to get out in the field and do it. They do come back from math because I don't think they found a meaningful way to incorporate that. But I don't know, I think it's pretty cool.
Do they have a way of, if they find out that halfway through the year that it's not for their kid, they have a way of getting out of that and getting into it? No?
I'd say that's what Stephanie said, because I've gone down there several times to see what was going on. And I have a nephew that was going there, and I think it's helped him because sitting in a school environment is, you know, and he really learned a lot.
And there is like a continuation of that
Exactly.
into a new pathway. So if people find that hands-on practical application learning really kind of lights their kid up and things start to make more sense to them, they can kind of continue that pathway and then they come back their sophomore year through their senior year. So.
Just real quick, I don't have any comment on the educational value, I just don't have the interface. Two thoughts, it's always been, was never well received by the public. I don't have it, one time of school where I've been in the community for a long time, it never has had traction with the public, whatever that means, doesn't really matter actually. Last thing is, the building just seems cramped. That's a physical comment, it doesn't come about physical, it just seems like it's crowded, and I don't know if how could that be a good thing, so, that's it, thank you.
I was gonna say that, I feel like I've this spring read and listened a bunch about like AI in education and sort of it changing the skills that our kids will need to know also when they get out of school, would be, you know, how easy it is to get a computer to do a lot of the work that you learn how to do in school now, we also really need to focus on teaching kids like, you know, presentation skills, collaboration skills, critical thinking skills, and like, to me, I'm like, Freshman Academy like really does a lot of those things that I think we're gonna have to really start thinking about changing in education in order to prepare our kids for the future too, so. I know we already are stepping back a little bit from TFA also, which, like, we took money out of the budget from it and we're doing more days already at the school, but I hope that isn't also perceived by the public as, oh, we think it's not working, so now we're taking money away from it, because that's a worry, but,
Beth, is that your program?
No, I was the Maine West Education Director for 2 years before I became principal, so I was a part of TFA, and I found it to be a very robust opportunity for kids, and there are kids who really thrived in that environment that normally wouldn't thrive in living the four walls of the school. Lots of place-based experiential learning, connecting the outdoors to curriculum, opportunities to collaborate. I mean, a lot of it, that's said. You do group projects. The Pay It Forward component of TFA is a really incredible resource for our community. I can't say enough about it, honestly. But I do understand that for some people, when you don't understand the why and the how, it makes you feel uncomfortable. So I think you're right. I think we need to do more education of the parents and families in the communities so they understand what we're doing and why.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'd like that to happen, just so parents can get a better education on what's going on down there. All right. Well, thank you for that discussion. I have one other thing I'd like to talk about. I know we've got a long agenda, so I won't take much time. To my colleagues on the school board. Up until 2 days ago, I was planning on my goodbye message to you all. After some deliberation on my part and doing some research, I have decided to do both the school board and my newly elected position as select person of NURI up until such time as a replacement for the school board can be found. In the past, Newry has had a hard time finding public servants for this position, and I want to assure the residents of my town that they won't lose representation on the board. 8 years ago, Newry had finally got 2 representatives on the board, paying the highest cost of school education, along with having one person on the board. That left a bad feeling in Newry. So in order to make sure that we have full representation on the board through this time, I would like to stay on until such time as there is a replacement. I've spoken to the Newry administrator about this issue and will run it by the select person board tomorrow for their consideration. So this is still an ongoing issue. Hopefully this will be only temporary until such time as a replacement can be found. So it's not goodbye yet. So, if anybody, I'd like to comment on the board. Some people might feel that this might be a conflict of interest, and yes, it would in some cases be a conflict of interest, and I would abstain under those situations, of course, if I feel it was, but there's still other things that can go on the board that will not create a conflict of interest. So I'd like to stay on until the replacement is found. And that's it. Anybody have any concerns or questions on
I got just my own comment.
Sure, yes, Scott.
First off, Deb, I'm glad you're sticking around, give me a little more chance we can talk about the school tax and how we assess among the towns, but I'm glad you're around for that. So, other light remarks, the teachers' party was great, fun, and I would, next year with the board, if you're around, go to the party. We had covered. Stephanie, Beth, David, we all sat at the table, and we all had someone to talk to, back and forth, it was great.
Destiny too.
And that's right, Destiny, I don't see her that night. And Levi was there, but he was too cool to hang with us. That's all right, we'll give it back. So.
My allegiance is still in the right place.
Well, we'll talk in executive session. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Are there any other board member comments?
Yeah, I know I've said this in the email before, and I feel like I've had a year now to get used to how everything works, but I would really somehow like to learn how we set the agenda and specific to like goals and data related to our school system, because I feel like we're asked to vote and make decisions about things, but I don't actually know like what we're working to improve, what, you know, I'm assuming that, I mean, we're basically your boss, right, Mark? So like you should have goals that you're working on, and I assume your administrators have goals they're working on, and I don't know if those are public or not, but I feel like knowing as a board what our school system is attempting to do would put us in a better place to support the school moving in that direction. And then also just general data related to how our school is performing would help me be able to answer questions to the public and, you know, help. But I do think our school like has a lot of great things happening, but sometimes I don't know how to even articulate them, because so I don't know what that looks like on an agenda, but I also don't really know how the agendas get set, and not that I'm looking for an answer right now, but I also just don't want it to get lost, because now it's the end of the year, so. That's it.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Moving on to the chairman's report, I'd like to start by congratulating our re-elected board members. We have some of them here tonight, Andrew and Scott, and Amy couldn't be here tonight, and Mark as well, who's not feeling well. And then we have Melinda Swing, who will be joining us from Woodstock. And I want to congratulate David on his re-election to the board, but then also his election to selectman. And I wish you the best in whichever path you choose.
Thank you.
And Marcy could not be here this evening, but I wanted to thank her for her service on the board and her years on the board. just a quick snippet about graduation, because I know Mark plans on speaking to it, but I just wanted to mention it was a beautiful tribute to the grads. It's a nice ceremony, and we have a lot to be proud of as board members. Great group of kids, and it was well done, so it was nice to be a part of that. And this evening, if approved, at the end of the agenda, we will have 2 executive sessions. The first is on TEA contract, so we will exit the executive agenda to vote on that. And then we'll enter into a second session for the superintendent's evaluation, which will return to open session only to adjourn. And that concludes the chairman's report. Moving on to upcoming committee and board meetings, the next SAD44 board meeting will be hosted on Monday, August 18th at 6:30 p.m. here in Telstar Library. The Education Committee will meet Thursday, September 11th at 3 p.m. in the Noise Savings Bank Conference Room. Finance Negotiations will meet Tuesday, September 9th at 5:30 in the central office. Facilities and Personnel will meet Monday, September 15th at 5:15 in Telstar Conference Room. Policy Committee will be meeting Monday, September 2nd at 10 a.m., also in the Telstar Conference Room. And the Region 9 Cooperative Board will meet Wednesday, July 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Region 9 School of Applied Technology. And as we roll back into our regular schedule in the fall, we will work on subcommittee selections and such. And then moving on to committee reports for the Education Committee, Ms. Gayer.
We have not met since our last meeting.
Okay, and for facilities.
Yep, we just met before this meeting. We went over the bus garage, which is just a every time we meet topic. And we did have it looked at by an engineering group. It continues to deteriorate, and recommendations for some repairs just to keep it moving along until we do figure out something to do with that or something else. And then we did have a new leak appear in the Telstar complex over by the auditorium, which unfortunately is a pretty substantial one. We've tried some patching, has not worked, and I think we're going to be talking about that later in this agenda, about what we're looking to do with that. And then CPS had a leak this winter that has been patched and just continued to get final repairs and some heat trace lines to help with that long-term for winter. That's about it.
Thank you. For the Finance Committee, Ms. Sarah.
Good evening. We met briefly and discussed our presentation for the public hearing.
And for the Policy Committee, Mr. Bartlett.
We will have 3 different policies to recommend to the board tonight.
Thank you. And for Region 9, Mr. Brown.
We've been meeting weekly trying to resolve the water issue, and I think it's going backwards. There's a lot of outside organizations are involved now, so it's turned into a quagmire. You can't get anything done until you get everyone in the room. And now it's difficult to get everyone in the room, never mind to get them to agree to anything. So if I had to guess, there probably won't be kids in that building when they start the school year. But on a positive note, the enrollment this year was 233, and next year, as we stand, it's 277. At one point, it was over 300, and they were worried that it has kind of, if I'm mistaken, it's a few kids away. So, and I'm sure there'll be more over the summer that decide to do something else. But 277 is really taxing some of the programs. So that's a good problem to have.
Question, Tim. Committee. So a little more on Watergate.
The PUC is involved, and so the PUC comes in. We have the assistant fire marshal from the state, but we can't get the water company, the water district superintendent, to show up at the meeting. He's attended one, but at the same time the fire marshal.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
The issue is that the diameter of the pipe going in to the building can't deliver enough the gallons per minute required under the fire code.
The engineers told us at the last meeting that was capable of producing almost 10,000 gallons a minute.
Yeah.
The pipe that comes down from Walmart.
What's the requirement?
The requirement is only, it's 350 times.
For the building?
Yes, 350, yeah.
For that,
Yeah. For that complex.
350
But
GBS.
the fire marshal told us at the last meeting, the state fire marshal had said in the meeting, your local fire chief has the ability to sign a waiver. Because one of these buildings is 100 yards from the other.
I'm sure
there's no way these kids are
overkill.
not gonna be able to get out of that building. There's no way that it can produce water. We're 100 gallons shy.
So that is
100
the
gallons
last
is sick.
piece that the local chief sign off? Is that
The local
simple?
people sign off, that's simple.
So you got pressure, you got, physically it's done, right?
All kinds of,
It's
yeah.
done. And where was, if they go back in time and do the project properly, what would they have done differently?
Nothing. It was nothing, because when they tested it the first time, it was fine. There was enough water. I think the issue was that the engineers who designed one of the buildings designed it for 250 gallons, and it ended up being a 350 gallon, and then that put us like.
So the tests are yielding
100 gallons shot.
insufficient output? So the testing is indicating insufficient output?
Yes, yes, because each one of the buildings requires X amount. They talked about taking the sprinkler system out of one of the buildings, because it's not big enough to require it, but it was put in. But that was still, it was 50 gallons a minute shy.
And then,
It's
so the
Still
building,
work.
It's silly.
The sprinkler system
So
works.
everything works. They've tested the system, everything works. It just cannot produce enough for the 30 minutes it takes to, they say, to evacuate a building safely.
and the objective was to start kids in this building this fall,
The objective was February.
or last year?
Yeah,
We're already
February.
behind.
The buildings were turned over to the district, and they could occupy them after February 15th.
So thank you for the update, appreciate that.
It's really, I mean, he's just blatantly just ignoring us. And they don't mind that there's a $3 million building sitting there that's sitting wasted.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
We have a meeting,
One
we
last
have
thing.
another meeting scheduled Wednesday, so we'll see.
Symptoms of a declining empire. One more, every day you can find things. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I'll now turn it over to Mr. Kenny for the superintendent's report and correspondence.
Good evening, everybody. We have one appointment to announce. We have a new Crescent Park Special Education Ed Tech 1, Laura Pezzalesi.
That's a lease.
Pezzalesi, okay, thank you. I didn't know that one. We have a slate of resignations. Miguel, better known as Mike Font, bus driver, effective June 13th, 2025. Abby Harrington, Ed Tech 1 at Crescent Park Special Education, effective June 17th, 2025. Brianna Adams was a half-time Ed Tech 1 at Woodstock, resignation effective May 19th. Sally Smith, clerk, adult and community education, effective June 26th, 2025. And Sarah Stafford, K-5 music teacher, effective June 17th, 2025. We will have a whole slate of advisors and Schedule B appointments coming to you in August. But coaches for the fall in the high school have been approved, so they can do their summer programming, and also to go from there. Couple things to put on your radar coming up. The MSBA Delegate Assembly Representative and Alternative. They're looking for nominations for that at the August meeting, for those who want to attend that. The last few years that has happened in the fall, right before the fall conference. The last year, Destiny did it online. And then the MSMA Fall Conference is coming up again in October 23rd and 24th. That's at Civic Center. Just want to make sure, we just got the announcement today. They haven't even set the agenda, but they wanted to have to save the date out for people to put on their radar. You can choose to go to one or both of those dates if you'd like to as board members. And if you want to go to both and to stay over, just have to let Robin know and she will help arrange hotel reservations so you can stay over if you'd like. As Aaron said, graduation week went off very well in the high school. But I also got several compliments of people stopped me about the 2 5th grade promotion nights and the 8th grade promotion night, just how well done all of them were, how positive, how much it truly showed that the teachers and the staff were invested in the kids through all the tiers, but just what a good celebration it was and how special all those groups and parents and families really felt. So that's kudos to all the staff to go through that. It's a bittersweet moment at each of those milestones and steps along the way. So we appreciate that very much. And we survived the power outage here at Telstar 10 minutes before graduation night when the big clap of thunder went off. And thank goodness we have the generator. We've been sitting in the dark. You just never know what's going to happen. Reminder for those, August 1st is the deadline requirement for a letter of intent to me for anyone interested in being board chair for next year per your policy BDA. That's just something that has to be done in writing, and then you will vote on that at the August board meeting. In your packets, you all got the financials for the year. We are ending the year right now with still having 21% of our budget unspent. We have a lot of bills coming in the last 2 weeks of June, but in all of our cost centers, we are in really good shape. And we're not going to be in a situation where we have to do any kind of transferring or borrowing from any cost centers, so your budget has come through nicely. We have a lot of expenditures coming out for the end of the year. Robin has a lot of extra payroll pieces for people for the end of the summer before they go and in contract times. So kudos to the Finance Committee and to the board in general for supporting all these decisions and allowing us to make sure we have enough operational resources to take care of what we needed to for the school year. This financial season does end on June 30th, and then we will switch over to our new budget on July 1. And so all expenditures for 25-26 school year can start after July 1. And then again, well, it's a little bit premature now, but thank you, David, as outgoing, potentially outgoing board member, and to Marcy, who's not here tonight, because she didn't want to come and cry in front of everybody at their last board meeting. But thank you for their time and service on the board, and congratulations to Melinda. Looking forward to working with you as well. Moving forward for next year. Other than that, I have the 2 executive session topics later, and we have a whole host of things to talk about later on. So with that, I will conclude my superintendent's report for now.
Moving on, we do not have any old business to tend to this evening, so we move on to new business. And there aren't any adjustments to the agenda, so we'll skip to number 3. To see what action the board would like to take regarding approval of the computation and declaration of votes for the district budget referendum held on June 2nd, 2025. And for whoever may be willing to make a motion, I would ask that if you're willing to do so, we prepare a draft.
Make a motion
Thank you, David.
that the computation and declaration of votes dated and attached hereto be approved. That the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of Maine School Administrative District number 44, the district, and that a certified copy of the computation and declaration of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks within the district.
Thank you, David. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? Scott?
Are there numbers in the packet? Vote counts?
Right here.
Yes.
You were signing.
Oh, we don't have it yet?
No.
Okay.
Right here. Want to start?
Did he?
Not by town, but he emails it
And
totally.
then, yeah.
Oh,
It's by town.
Yeah.
all right, let's do it.
The day after the election, I was able to send out an email.
It was an email?
Yeah.
Look at this.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the motion as read? Thank you, it's unanimous, and I'll start passing around that sheet. When I send it all, I'll just go
Nope,
online
just
and
right
grab
down.
it.
Yep, just start signing.
Number 4, to see what action the board would like to take regarding the approval of the assessment warrant and the assessment schedule and notice of installments prepared by the treasurer for each member municipality of the district for fiscal year 2025, 2026, and to be issued in form presented to the meeting, and that the treasurer be authorized and directed to deliver to each member municipality its assessment warrant and its assessment schedule and notice of installments. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Stephanie. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the motion as read? Thank you, unanimous, and I'll pass these sheets around as well. Number 5, to see what action the board would like to take regarding the approval of the computation and declaration of votes for the district school board elections held on June 10th, 2025. And the same, I would ask that whoever makes the motion, please read the paragraph just below.
I make a motion
Thank you, David.
that the computation and declaration of votes dated and attached here to be approved. That the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of Maine School Administrative District Number 44, the district, and that a certified copy of the computation and declaration of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks within the district and the Commissioner of the Maine Department of Education.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Val. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the motion as read? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 6, to see what action the board would like to take regarding the approval of authorizing the superintendent of schools to hire new staff during the summer. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the superintendent of schools to hire new staff over the summer? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 7, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of a 5-year tuition agreement with the Andover School Department starting July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any discussion?
Weren't we originally gonna do a 10-year? Or were we always 5? Okay. Are the other ones 5-year?
I just point out to the board that our student count, the new budget, 17.2 million outlay over, we use 665 students, that's superintendent, right? So, do the math on that, it's around 20, just shy of $26,000 per student. Many ways to measure that, but the most simple metric. State law has reference in the agreement, it's rigged again against the towns that actually create the district, because the tuition ends up being like 14 grand a kid. But our budget says, you know, do the math, again, there are, for students, somewhat artificial, you always put more kids in the classroom at no additional cost. Classrooms there, teachers there, all that, but you gotta have one way of measuring it is by the student. But we're getting, 20% of our student body is actually tuition from outside the tax base, the 4 towns, and so we're actually subsidizing, by law, we're forced to subsidize what comes out of Albany, Upton, Gilead. All good kids, all deserve the education. So that's just a comment. And then, last thing we did, we approved the tax load for the new year. We're running 4 different tax rates. That'll be another conversation another day. But here we are back to this. It's a built-in ripoff for the 4 towns and the taxpayers that actually pay for the shop. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Any other discussion? Question? No, seeing none. All those in favor of approving the 5-year tuition agreement with the Andover School Department? Thank you. It's unanimous. Number 8, see what action the board would like to take in approving the superintendent's recommendation of Terry Childs as the SAD44 Director of Adult and Community Education through a contract for FY26 for a salary of $63,000 and FY27 for $65,205. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Cheryl. And the packets of information are going around. We ask that you just please return those once you're done looking at them. Any discussion? Thank you. And we can take as long as you'd like, so you actually have a moment to look at the information that we're distributing.
This is just showing how the budget votes for each town. Okay, and then the second vote.
But not this thing.
Is there
This is
still
something,
ever
this is what we want.
to see these? Like I saw the total count before I came, but do these
We get them from each town, they give them to us, it's too much.
Like, I know Bethel, what's this? Bethel, like, publishes it. Results for the selections online.
Okay.
I couldn't find it through the other ones. When I looked at last
Oh, I
one.
don't know about the other towns, whether or not they do it publicly or not. But they have to send us all their paperwork, and then they have to send us into the state. And these are for the individual education.
Has everyone had the opportunity to look over the information for this candidate? Any other questions, discussions?
No, certification, what are we doing here?
I'm sorry.
Certification,
Conditional certification, currently working at it,
how long is it conditional for?
3 years.
Yeah, 'cause didn't, you said it's a specific,
Yes, it's different than any other certification, it's very specific to adult ed only. Adult ed director is its own unique.
I thought it was mine. I'm used to it.
So Terry's been working in adult ed for the last 3 years. We worked with Julie very closely in programming. We had 4 applications, we interviewed 2 candidates, and the committee felt very strongly that Terry, having the inside knowledge and expertise of the 3 years she's been here, the connections, the community connections, and just working with the people already here, and just her energy and drive to take what is here and keep pushing forward to grow the adult ed and community ed program. It was a no-brainer, and so very excited to have the opportunity. She also has the unfortunate situation where she has to now hire her 2 employees to work under her, since she'll have to get 2 clerks to now work in adult ed. But it'll give her a chance to build the program and the people that she's going to work with from the ground up. And nervously excited, ready to hit the ground running?
I'm
So,
excited.
Julie's very excited. They let me hand this off. But really looking forward to how to continue the community enrichment programs, but also build the educational side of it and to build the classroom side of it up. It's something we have not been able to do through COVID and beyond, for many reasons, but and to work with the administration here and working on moving forward with how adult ed can really be cemented into the community. So it's rare that we have a individualized program here in our community, not a regional program. So, and one of the big tasks, and we talked about this, Terry, is how do we continue to make things unique here and not keep trying to recreate what other people are doing and share those resources, but how do we find something that's unique to just our program so they can send people here and we can send people to, instead of trying to all do the same thing. That's a real big task. So.
Who was in the interview process for this position?
We had 2 people from adult ed and the middle school and high school principal and myself. That's 5 of us.
Any other questions? Comments? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving Terry Childs as Director of Adult Ed for FY26 and FY27? Thank you.
Congratulations.
Number 9, to see what action the board would like to take in approving the superintendent's recommendation of Corey St. Xavier as the new 6th grade math teacher at Telstar Middle School for the first-year probationary contract for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, David. Second? Thank you, Stefan. And Corey's information is in the packet that was just distributed.
questions on this particular candidate and position.
Do we know why
why they popped around some of these schools? Did they talk about that in their interview at all?
I was not in the interview, it was something Mrs. Lecce conducted for the middle school staff. I know they just moved to Bethel last year. When they work here, they have a daughter that goes to Crescent Park. And in her past, her background was science teaching. But really looking forward to teaching math and being at the middle school level. Spent a lot of time subbing and volunteering in the district and want a chance to work in the district.
Can you teach math with science?
And she has her conditional certification and she needed 2 courses and she had signed up for them before the interview and is already taking them this summer, so she'd have everything in place when school starts.
Do we get candidates during this? I'm fine, I'm not talking against this person, but they obviously have never taught math, and math is, like, as we know from looking at our educational data that we looked at, our last meeting is a need for our system. Like, are we eager to fill spots whenever we get an application, or do we get applicants during the year that don't wanna say they're leaving their school before the end, or like?
Not always, a lot of times some places wait till the budget's passed. This position has been advertised in February
Okay.
and they waited until they felt they had viable candidates. They had 2 candidates apply. One was not even conditionally certified yet, but they at least interviewed just out of courtesy and went with the experienced teacher. Waited until as long as possible, but just wanted to make sure they actually had the position filled as well.
Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, I do, actually. Yeah, when we hire someone, especially if it's a conditional certification, for in our district, how does that look? Like, are all teachers probationary for their first year?
Their first 2 years.
Okay.
No matter what experience factor they come in the district, it's an automatic probationary for the first 2 years.
It's by law, right?
Yes. The conditional through the state with certification, that's 3 years. Up to 3 years to get you can only get conditionally certified once. And if you don't get to take care of that in a period of time, then you don't have the option again.
And how is being a probationary teacher different? Like, what?
Probation teacher is a year-to-year contract.
Okay.
And at the end of the year, through the evaluation system and through observations, the building administrator makes a recommendation to me and to the board as to if they should continue on for year 2 and then for continuing contract beyond that.
So we're making a 1 year.
1 year
commitment.
agreement.
Okay.
As with anyone who's coming in, they're all in that same situation.
Question mark, the purpose of probation is to no questions asked, they can be released from employment without recourse to the district. That's my understanding. There's an evaluation system and hopefully the employee will be treated properly, but even absent that, I believe you don't need much to get rid of them, right? Is that a fair?
That's true. And they're
Recycle,
also,
okay.
if you're looking at the RIF process, they'd be the low person on total, so they'd be the first person on the RIF process to be cut.
That's by contract.
By contract. The state changed it, it was probably 4 years ago now. The probationary period used to be 3 years. And the state changed it back to 2 years.
The non-professional is 1.
Sorry.
Non-professional is 1, like bus drivers and, is that 1 year
Their
probation?
probationary period is either, depending on what role under the ASME contract, either 6 months or 1 year. depending
1
on-
year.
yeah, separate.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving Corey St. Savior for the 6th grade math teacher for the 2025-2026 school year? Thank you. It's unanimous. Number 10, to see what action the board would like to take in approving the superintendent's recommendation of Jillian Burrow as the athletic trainer for Telstar Middle School and High School to a first-year probationary contract for the 2026 school year. Have a motion?
Make a motion to accept.
Beat you to you, David.
Do you want a second?
I wanted this one.
Oh, you want it? So,
I'll give you the second if you want, David.
all right. Second.
Any discussion? And again, this information is in the packet that was sent around.
It's a big steal and exciting, so if you don't know her.
Jillian is coming to us from Oxford Hills. She's a Telstar graduate. She was a 12-letter winner when she was a student and athlete here at Telstar. She's been at Oxford Hills for the past 13 years as their trainer for their entire high school program. Her kids are in the district. She's essentially coming home and very excited about bringing her experience and knowledge here. And something a little bit different and not having to commute, but really looking at helping to continue to build our sports programs, support our athletes, support the coaches. So we feel very fortunate. We've been 3 years now without an athletic trainer since our trainer left. This last year, we had contracted services for basketball season, and previously we worked on some contracted services, help from Bethel Rescue, and some of our internal staff who are trained to help with coverage. But it's been a while since we've had a full-time athletic trainer again, and it's noticeable. And it puts a lot more on the coaches, unfortunately, helping kids with injuries and rehab that they are not as trained for. So this is a big deal.
What's your pay scale?
It's on the teacher's contract, so this follows the teacher's contract, so based on experience, she comes in with a master's degree, so she will be coming in on the same scale as the teacher's contract. Be step 14, I believe.
Okay, and eventually we're adding athletic director to this position.
The hopes is that this will turn into, yes, as
So
we
yeah.
look to actually go to a full athletic director position in the future, and she has her certification.
Would she move on to a administrative contract where she does
Yes,
evaluation?
it'd be a hybrid. And we haven't had an athletic
No.
director since,
Carol Higgins.
Yeah.
after
it's
Mr.
the
Higgins,
same,
we
right?
had one other, Jillian Manzi was here for a short time. She came from Caravat. And then since then, we've had activities coordinators, because nobody had a degree for it. And so, it's been a long time. And this covers, and again, the situation is, it's middle school, high school combined. So it's
Right.
all middle school and high school athletics. So it's a 5 to 6 day week, role, covering all the games, prepping for practices, doing the rehab, taping. Concussion protocol falls under the athletic trainer, so this will be a big thing to monitor all the concussion protocols, all falls under their jurisdiction as well.
Any other discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the recommendation of Jillian Perla for athletic trainer for the 2025-26 school year? Thank you. Unanimous. Number 11, receive an action or would like to take and approving the superintendent's recommendation of Ross Chicoine as a 0.5 special Chicoine? Chicoine, okay, thank you. As a 0.5 special education teacher, Telstar Middle School, and 0.5 IEP coordinator district-wide to a first-year probationary contract for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a motion? Motion approved. Thank you, Stephanie.
Second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion?
So Ross is coming to us from RSU 10, where he is one of the district assistant special ed directors. He's worked with Jeannie in her capacity for a few years now. Very excited to come over here and to continue to work with Jeannie and to take on the 8th grade program case managing. So we'll be helping her with assessing, but also some IEP meeting coverage. So she can rest her cape a little bit, not try to be in every single meeting and do all the different things that she does. But this will be a big step forward to get someone with experience. And someone's highly recommended, and talking to Deb Alden even again today, she's very sad in RSU 10 that he's leaving, but he understands and is very jealous. So it's a good catch.
So this is just two halves because it's coming in two different buckets?
Correct.
Are there any other questions or comments on this candidate?
Very detailed.
It bodes well for special paperwork.
Seeing none, all of those in favor of approval of Ross Schicken as part-time special ed at Telstar and part-time IEP coordinator district-wide for 2025-2026. Thank you. It's unanimous. Number 12, to see what action the board would like to take in approving the superintendent's recommendation of Danielle Thibodeau to a first-year probationary contract as a special education teacher at Crescent Park School for the 2025-2026 school year. Thank you, Andrew. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie. On
Who
to
did
discussion.
I'm assuming Jeannie, like who did the special ed teacher interviews? Is it,
So the special ed teacher interview, that was Tanya, myself, a special ed teacher, and a classroom teacher.
okay, and then you guys make the recommendation tomorrow?
Yes.
Once again, you have a chance for some homegrown. Danielle's been in ed tech in the district, and
3 or 4 years?
a while now.
Yeah.
And has worked her way up
4
to
years.
getting her degree so that she can be a classroom teacher.
Great.
Been working in the special ed department this whole time and was highly decorated and very well trained, full experience, but also just, she knows our system, she knows our space in the building, and she's giddy to have the chance to have a classroom of her own. So it's a big deal. It doesn't happen every day, so it's a good thing.
Any other comments, discussion?
Super excited for it.
Seeing none, all of those in favor of approval of Danielle Thibodeau to a first-year contract for special education teacher at Crescent Park for 2025-26. Thank you, it's unanimous. If you could please turn your packets back in a moment. Number 13, the see what action the board would like to take in approving the superintendent's recommendation for administrative contracts and central office staff contracts for FY26, FY27, and FY28. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Second.
Was that you, David? Or Cheryl?
Cheryl.
Cheryl, thank you. Discussion.
This was just to put everybody on the same 3-year cycle. And so this covers central office staff and all of your building administrators, as well as Arlen and Ryan as far as food service and buildings and grounds, transportation. And then once Terry gets through her 2-year probationary period, then be on the same 3-year cycle. So all the administrative contracts outside of mine will all be on the same 3-year cycle going forward. They have the same increase percentage, insurance stays the same as far as district coverage, and then the only additional change was additional 2 days of vacation time for the administrators and central office, and then with our 2 assistant principals, we shifted, because they don't get vacation time, shifted the number of days to be equitable, and a little bit of a reduction for them, so it all balances out to be the same percentages.
This piece
That's
of
the
paper,
chart,
right?
yes,
So is it, it's adding 2 vacation days each
each year.
year?
Mhm.
What do people start at?
It started out at 20, and then we tried to build it up, similar to what you gave for my contract as far as vacation days, so it was up to 26.
And then does it stop at, does it max out at a certain?
It'll start at 26 for the life of this contract, and then to determine what after these 3 years, what direction we want to go in. Scott?
Are there individual employment agreements? This isn't a union,
No, they're individual contracts.
so each name here, there's an individual contract. Is it all same language?
They're pretty similar, yes.
Is there a holiday schedule? Like what holidays are provided? Just because
Yeah.
I walked into the office on Christmas Eve and the whole staff was there. They were all there.
It's a holiday, they don't have to be there. Yes, there's 14 paid holidays in the contract for year-round staff.
And is Christmas Eve one of them?
Yes.
We took,
They don't have much of a life.
it was either the day before or you could take the day after. I think it was on a Thursday, whatever day it fell, so we just took the day after.
They were all there.
We
It
were
was
there
Christmas Eve.
on Christmas Eve.
Thank you.
Is there sick time too, or just everything's vacation time?
There's sick time as well. Sick time can accumulate, vacation time does not.
So you're saying 2 years vacation pay, 2-day vacation pay every year on 26th, 27th, and 28th additional,
There's 2 additional vacation days added to their total for the year, yes.
along with everything they already have.
Mhm.
I think what it is this year they have 20, next year they have 22, 24,
Right.
get to 26 to a
So 26 vacation days in a year.
Mhm.
We delve into things now, I guess. So, 2 days, add 2 days, so the expectation for these employees, it's a Monday to Friday job, 52 weeks out of the year, and the identified holidays are automatically, you don't need to show up.
Correct.
But other than that, there's an expectation that you're gonna be there, other than, unless you're on vacation, or sick, or you punched out for one reason or the other.
Right. There's
You're
6
gonna
days
have
of
3
vacation.
months off in the summer too.
No,
No.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so there's an
These
expectation.
are all 12-month
Oh, these
employees,
are-
right?
Right, you're right.
Right, these are,
That was pretty good.
This is different than the teacher contract.
I'm glad you clarified that.
so,
Did you say sick days roll over, but vacation time doesn't?
Sick days can accumulate up to a certain amount, they cap off,
Yeah.
vacation days do not.
Okay, so you don't use them, you lose them.
so the amount in the budget for each of these employees will be exactly 100% spent on the wage year to year. Well, because of you're either paying vacation or they're there or not, it's blind, the paycheck is blind.
There's no additional pay above and beyond that.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the recommendation for administrator contracts and central office staff contracts for 26, 27, and 28. Thank you. It's unanimous. Number 14, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the SAD44 school board meeting schedule for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a motion? Motion approved. Thank you, Stephanie.
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any discussion?
Pre-mark you down for absent on the first one.
Yeah. What you got going on?
Florida, tough one.
Better.
Sweaty Florida.
On the back side, you have the committee schedule for next year as well. So you have that ahead of time to go along with the board meeting schedule for the year.
Thank you, that's
Yeah,
easy.
thank you. Might help with selections and.
What day is the first day of school next year?
First Tuesday is Wednesday the 27th, and teachers start on.
August 27th?
Yep, and teachers start on that Monday. They have 2 workshop days prior to the students arriving.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the SAD44 school board meeting schedule for 2025-2026 school year? Thank you. It's unanimous. 15, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding authorization to make necessary repairs to the roof at Telstar Middle/High School in FY '26, and the facilities committee will have a recommendation.
We recommend to approve.
Thank you, Brian. We do not need a second, or the committee has that recommendation, so I'll open the floor for discussion.
Then we can discuss what we talked about. So roof leak came up after we talked about all of our capital improvement plans, unfortunately, and it's a pretty substantial one from what we've been told. It's been tried to patch, it has not been successful. Arlen, was it 8 times they've come up here to try to figure out what's going on, and they've not been able to identify. So in our meeting before this, we had 2 proposals. One was about $30,000 less, but it's really just kind of a covering it over with another roof, but it was not a long-term solution. We're just gonna be back to where we were after a few years. The other one was completely ripping it up, putting down a whole new roof, fixing what's underneath there, and doing it the right way. We recommended that we have a cap of about 140 and allow these guys to ask for at least 1 more bid, if not 2 more bids, and ask about 2 weeks to get something moving with the contract with a cap of 140, and using some of the capital funds that we approved for this, because if it continues, it's just gonna deteriorate more things, which is gonna cost more money. So we've tried to fix it the cheap way, it's not working.
And the goal is to try and have it done either before school or as close to the start of the school year, but these amount of interruptions also before more issues come out.
And one point of clarity, it's not the entire roof. It was a great
One
price for the
section.
whole roof, but it's a section over by the auditorium. It's still a big section. We're asking for the square footage amount from the company that bid so far. But it's still a good sized chunk of the school. And Lynn said it's probably one of the first ones that went up a long time ago, so it's due.
Are you talking the alligator roof out there?
No, not that. It's mostly flat roofing. There's a couple pitches to it, but it's mostly flat. How did I do? Did I describe it okay? All flat. Perfect. We're gonna put some crickets, so it won't all be flat down.
It's essentially the main hallway upstairs from the teacher's room, down past the music rooms, down to the trophy cases by the gym, that whole flat section of the hallway.
Don't put crickets in, it'd be noisy.
Spend my buckets in the hallway.
Yes.
All spring, which is their own issue.
Any other questions or comments on the project? Seeing none, all those in favor of authorizing the necessary repairs to the roof at Telstar? Thank you. It's unanimous.
Can I ask a quick question, too?
Of course.
With all of this, is there, water in the hallway, are we checking for mold? Should we be?
We have it with the vinyl tile floors. We've been lucky, we don't have carpets or anything like that upstairs. They're checking the ceiling, they check the ceiling tiles.
Okay.
And then maybe when they get into the layers of the insulation up in the roof line, they may find, so that's part of the contingency as to, in their quote, those remediation pieces need to be included.
Number 16, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the second and final reading of policy I-40F, graduation, and the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Policy committee recommends approval.
Thank you, David. And I'll open the floor for discussion, if there is any. Any questions, comments? There weren't any changes
If you
from the
recall,
first reading.
this policy, the only change originally was the removal of the 222 credit reduction from Region 9, the past series, with the change in programming and added standards added in each program. All of the sending schools have done away with that reduction and have the kids at the same graduation minimum requirements, no matter what program they're in. Now that we're also giving some more academic credit in each of the programs, Region 9 as well. That was the big push, was to have fewer elective credits and more academic credits tied into the programs. And so that project's been going on. It was started 7 years ago, and finally this year, they came up with a final proposal for each of the sending schools to feel comfortable with, and the teachers at Region 9 to make their adjustments to their programming. So they have the technical standards. They didn't necessarily have the other academic standards tied in before. Now they do. So there's more partial credit, and it's partial credit, but in English, math, science, a lot of these programs, it makes more sense than just getting a bunch of elective credits.
Any questions at all, or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the second and final reading of policy IKF, graduation? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 17, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the second and final reading of policy IKA, grading, and the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Policy committee recommends approval.
Any discussion?
Who's the final sign off? It had commas or for some of this, like nurse or. Now that we have an athletic trainer. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong one.
Yep.
I apologize. I jumped ahead. I had it in the wrong order. Great, we're good.
Okay.
We're good?
Nothing changed from first reading to second reading of this policy. However, if you look at the tables at the end, there's more clarifying information in the tables. We also, after going through with administration, really felt it was important to separate high school from middle school from the elementary school based on how they are applying their academic grading and reporting out. So that's why you see separate tables in there. It does not change the practice of what they've been doing, but now the policy and the tables match and they are consistent and accurate. The other piece, that elementary has two sets of tables because of the way that Power School does the grading. HOWLS, which is the habits of work and learning. And if you think way back, the old report cards on the right-hand side is all the check pluses and how kids were on their conduct in school. That's essentially what the HOWLS are. Those are averaged together, and you get a final result. However, in the elementary school, they do not grade that way. They don't average grades. They do their final scores, and that's what gets on the report card. So we had to build two different grading scales within the program. Middle school and high school, everything gets averaged. So that's why you see a much more detail to the tenths in the grading scale. It also just lays out in the colored column to the right what truly exceeds, meets, does not meet the standards and in the high school that relates to what is credit bearing, what is not, and also what is available for credit recovery. So it is the same as before, it's just a much more expanded and detailed, hopefully it leaves less gray for interpretation as to when people try to determine what it is. And that's also what they use for determining Dean's List, honor roll, and for the high school, their Latin honors for graduation are all tied into that.
Can you tell us about, how does credit recovery work, and then does that grade just get changed once they've done credit recovery? What happens when they don't do it?
So credit recovery, there's usually two different versions, depends on where the students are at in the course. Sometimes they can work with the teacher to either redo or do assessments they haven't done yet to meet the grade, or if they need to do a credit recovery class or a project, they can go through we have Keystone Credit Recovery Program that we pay for, the students also pay for if they need to do. It's a standards-based packet that they have to go through and essentially meet standards to equate to that credit, the course. On their transcript, it lists out both, but they don't both count in their GPA. So it shows if they go through and do that. And that's only at the high school level, because it's where it's the only time the credits are applied. There is some summer school in the middle school, and it's more for skills than it is for actual credits and standards. Same with the elementary, it's more for practice and to avoid the summer regression. It gives you a little extra.
Middle schoolers don't earn credits, and they just get promoted and they'll have a grade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that can also be used in retention conferences if needed.
Does that, retention you mean holding back,
Mhm.
right? Is that happening? Are there middle schoolers that aren't
It's
promoted
rare.
to their next grade? Okay.
It's rare. Usually they get it on an academic success plan. They might look into Title I additional support. There's other pieces they can do other than retention. It's more research-based. If you can't catch retention in the early grades, it's more detrimental than not.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the second and final reading of policy IKA, Grady?
Whoop.
It's unanimous. Number 18, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the second and final reading of policy JJIF, management of concussions, and the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Policy committee recommends approval.
Thank you, David. Open this up for discussion.
Okay, it's really zoned in, made notes. So do they automatically, when they get, they think somebody has a concussion, does it automatically just go to a medical provider? Or do we do in-house protocols with this policy and we assess them through it?
Ask what a medical provider.
No matter what, it always goes, okay. And then only the medical staff member can release them, it's nothing internal with us?
Correct.
Do
Well,
we have to?
there's two parts.
Okay,
We need the doctor's note.
Yep.
And then there's the return to the classroom procedure, return to
Yes.
athletic play. That comes after that, but it all has to be spent on, you have to have a doctor's note.
after the doctor's note, is it then internal when we release, and who makes that call?
Well, it has been, in the past, it was the trainer.
Okay,
It has shifted to the nurse since we didn't have a trainer, so the nurse and the trainer worked in conjunction.
do they both have to sign off under this policy?
You just have to have one.
Is it gonna be set in stone as to which one does that?
We're going to, now that we have a trainer back, they're going to work on their internal procedures and protocols and go from there. It's chances are, and the design of this is that it goes through the trainer and the nurse will be the backup.
Got it.
Just trying to get back to that.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in, oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure. What were the biggest changes in this?
Like everything.
Everything in red. That's quite a lot. Everything in red.
And I guess why, or like who do we lean on for this information?
This came from the main DOE
Okay.
and their head nurses, send this out to all
Pretty
districts.
standard
It
then.
is- And one of the big changes that this policy has, besides all the additional red, is towards the end, all of the return to learn and return to play tables and protocols. In the past, it was left up to each individual district with their own. This standardized and uniformed it across all districts, so everyone's following the same one. And so that was also a piece in there that was shared out statewide.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the second and final reading of policy JJIF, management of concussion. Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 19, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding entering into an executive session to consider labor contract negotiations with the TEA employees pursuant to section 1 MRSA 405-6B.
I approve that we go into executive session.
Thank you, David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion on going into executive session?
I'll be,
Should we take a break?
Very brief, yes. Yeah. Aye. Seeing none, all those in favor of entering into executive session to discuss the TEA contract? Thank you. It's unanimous. We'll take a brief recess for anyone but board members. The superintendent to exit the room.